Hi parents and educators, I am Emily Sadeghi with Songs for Speech. Do you have a child that usually uses moaning, crying, or even screaming to try to get what they want instead of using actual words? Or if they do use actual words, do they use words that aren't appropriate to the context, like saying, "Go Batman," instead of, "I want another cookie, please"? If you answered yes to either of those questions and your child is 2 years old or older, this video is for you. So, as parents and educators, you have amazing opportunities to really help develop your child's language. And one of the quickest ways to develop a child's language is through something called withholding. Basically, withholding is not giving a child something that they want until they communicate with you the way you want them to. You've probably heard of this technique and tried it out, but if you don't know exactly how to do it effectively for your child, you might just end up frustrating the child and frustrating yourself. So here are 5 steps you can use to develop your child's language and communication skills and decrease tantruming. Because the more language they use, the less tantruming they'll see that they need in order to get what they want. Step 1. Know what to expect as far as language goes when you're interacting with your child. Know what their general language ability is. Step 2. Gauge how ready they are for an interaction with you, whether their attention is there, motivation is there, and whether they're emotionally ready as well. Step number 3, withhold. Step number 4, adjust your expectations and language demands as needed. Number 5, finally, once they've communicated with you, give them what they want and add in some extra reinforcement if needed. Now I'll explain each step more in depth and show you demo videos. So let's talk a little bit more about step 1. You have to be aware of the language level that the child is at to have a fair expectation of how they're going to communicate with you. So the first level is basically being nonverbal. And at that level, you can expect them to use pictures and signs with you. That's something you can build up to. In the beginning, you might have to do things hand over hand. You can do hand over hand with signs. For example, this is a sign for a car. Hand over hand, you can take the child's hands, do this, and then give them the car. Once they get used to that, you can have them imitate you, and so on. The next level above that is using one word, or at least attempting that specific word, such as saying k or ka for car. And the level above that is using 2 words, what we call a 2-word utterance, putting 2 words together. The step above that is using 3 words, using a 3-word utterance. And the step above that is using a 4-word utterance, like I want to go, and so on. So if a child is usually saying things like mommy go and want cookie, you can't expect them to say, can I have another car, please? That's a 6-word utterance. You're not setting the child up for success. Here's a demo video of how it could look when you have the language expectations of the child in mind when you're having an interaction with them. So for the purposes of this video, we're going to assume that this child is at the level of a 4-word utterance, using 4 words to communicate. Okay. Now which Play-Doh do you want?
Pink.
Oh. Say, I want pink, please.
I want pink, please.
She answered with one word, but I knew she was able to use a 4-word utterance, so I had her practice putting those 4 words together to help develop her language. I withheld the Play-Doh until she used those 4 words. Now let's talk about number 2, whether they are ready for an interaction like this with you. So, if they are not paying attention to you or the activity, then they're not ready. So you need to get their attention. If they're not motivated, then you might want to use another item, something more motivating to them for this kind of interaction. Another aspect of being ready is being emotionally ready to interact with you. If a child is in a bad mood, it can be really hard to get them to use good language. In this video, you'll see what happens when a child is not ready for an interaction because of lack of attention. It looks like a bookmark. Yeah, maybe someone could make a bookmark with that. All right, so which color do you want to use first, Zoe?
And a flower bookmark.
Pause. Is the child ready to interact? No. I asked a question and she did not answer. So she didn't have enough attention to the task because she was in the middle of communicating about something else. So, one easy way to get a child's attention is to get more in their space. Especially our children on the autism spectrum, they're often in their own world, but if you can come in their world or bring a desired object into their world, you can get their attention a lot easier. So, do you want the blue, the pink, or the green first?
The blue, the pink,
pink. The blue?
Yes.
All right, say, I want blue, please.
I want blue, please.
Okay. Step 3, withholding. I know it can be hard to not give a child something that they want. But if they start to cry or moan or tantrum and then you give them what they want, you're only teaching them that that's exactly what they need to do to get what they want. So you're basically teaching them to tantrum or cry or moan. So withholding is very important. In that last demo video, I withheld the Play-Doh. I didn't open it until she used those 4 words. I knew that she was able to use 4 words, and this was an opportunity for her to practice using better sentences, practice using better language. Number 4, adjusting. So we've already talked about how to adjust what you're doing to get the child's attention if you don't have their attention. And we've talked about using a more motivating activity or object if you don't think they're motivated enough to give you good language. Now let's talk about changing the language demands when they're not in the best mood to communicate with the language that they know. So for example, if they can normally repeat a 3-word utterance, just try having them repeat a 2-word utterance. So instead of, I want purple, you could have them say, purple please. If they won't do that, you can just have them say purple, or you can have them repeat you 1 word at a time, purple, purple, please, please, like that. If they won't give you even 1 word, if all else fails, you can always do hand over hand for the sign want, which is like this. And you curl their fingers and say, this means want. You're saying want with your hands. They've given you a word, and then you can give them whatever they wanted in that moment, and then move on. And then as their mood betters, you can increase the language demands again. Step 5. Once they've communicated with you, give them what they wanted to begin with. And if they're new to this process, or if it took them a while to be able to communicate, definitely reward them a little bit more as needed. So you can give verbal praise, like saying, great job using your words. You can do high fives, tickles. You can throw them up in the air if they're small enough. Anything that is motivating to them to increase the likelihood that they'll give you that language again the next time. In this next demo video, you'll see what happens when a child is not emotionally ready to have an optimal interaction and how to adjust expectations language-wise to meet the needs of the child in that moment, but still get them to communicate with you using words. What do you want to do? Did you want to go in the other room? No? Yes? Okay. Then what do you say? Oh, say, can I go in the other room? Sure. So this child, who happens to be mine, went from having a full-blown tantrum to picking herself up calmly because I helped her communicate using these 5 steps. I knew her language level, I gauged her readiness for good communication, and since she hadn't had a nap and was more emotional, I saw she needed more support. I still withheld what she wanted and didn't give her permission to go in the other room, but I adjusted from asking an open-ended question such as, "What do you want?" to having her repeat 2 to 3 words at a time, which is a much easier language task. And then I let her go in the other room. For her, that was enough, and she didn't need extra reinforcement. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, hit subscribe, click the notification bell for future videos, and check out my channel, Songs for Speech, for songs that help with language development. See you in the next video.